Welcome, family. Welcome to another great episode of Transformed and Renewed. If this is your first time checking us out, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button right now. Make sure you do that. And once you do that, make sure you also drop a comment in because I do appreciate your feedback. If you are returning, make sure you show us some love, okay? Again, if this is your first time, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, okay? So, we are going to have a good topic, and I'm excited about this because I do want you to be educated about a lot of these topics that I share with you. May not make you feel the best way, but again, I want you to know that these are just things that I have noticed, and I want you to be aware because you would likely be surprised when I share some of this information with people who are actually surprised about what we're going to talk about today. And that is when it comes to fast food, do you really know what you are eating? And so this has come about because even when I was a child, used to eat different fast food. Wasn't like I ate it a lot because we didn't live around a lot of restaurants. But I did notice that whenever there was an opportunity to eat fast food, something unique about it, like the flavor, the convenience, the selection of items, and being able to select, different menu items and it not break your wallet or it cause you to feel like you didn't have enough money. Of course, today that has pretty much changed, especially with inflation and some other factors. But when it comes down to food and nutrition, there are a lot of things, again, we're going to discuss today. But I also want you to think about it from a perspective, which we are going to explore, is not only the enjoyment of food, but actually what actually goes on in your gut, in your body once you consume that food, as well as 5, 10 years from now, like your habits. Can that really cause some different reactions that you may prefer, you may not prefer? So these are some things that we're going to explore. And so I one thing I will say is I know that when it comes to sharing information, I don't know about you, but I know at least for me, when I see a lot of visuals, such as information that I can actually research on my own, that actually to me confirms the information. So I want to do the same thing with you because I want you to be aware of this information that I'm sharing with you. And so again, when it comes down to a lot of the information that I will be sharing with you, I want you to know, even before I share with you, that I don't have any ill intent with any company that I will share because most of the information I'm sharing with you is public. So it's not like I'm trying to put any company on blast, but I do want you to see what at least most people are consuming or raving about, but also showing you exactly what you're eating. So bear with me because, again, I do want to show you this information. And that way you can also walk away with something feeling educated. And so, first up, we have Chick-fil-A. Wow. Yeah, that's a big one. Okay, let's see if we can do that. All right. So, when it comes down to Chick-fil-A, one thing that I did in advance, because I know trying to view the actual menu, you have to actually select a restaurant. But for this particular example, I pretty much just put in a random location. But one thing I wanted to show you is when it comes down to food that people may typically order. I know people can order spicy Chick-fil-A sandwich or even a cool wrap, but I wanted to at least show you what would be some of the sorry about that. What would be just one thing that people order? And I know like a basic Chick-fil-A sandwich. Okay, so here we can kind of see just a summary of the macros. So 17 grams of fat, pretty high. 41 grams of carb, not bad. And 29 grams of protein, that's not bad. However, let's start to look at these ingredients, which I had pre-populated. So when we look down here at these ingredients, you see chicken breasts. But when you see this fried chicken breast, don't think that it's just flour on with spices and chicken breast. That's one thing that they will share with you. But of course, what I am going to do, I'm just going to highlight pretty much this chicken and then where it actually stops on the next line item, which is the bun flour. So as we can see here, pretty much everything, 4 lines just about, is pretty much showing you what is contained in this chicken breast. And when we actually copy that, and I pretty much took the liberty of putting up a Word document just to show you exactly how this looks. When we take this information in a chicken, so let's see about how many words roughly. You have roughly about 62 words. And if we wanted to remove some fillers, let's say you probably have like 2 words per line. So that's, if we have about 5 lines, that's probably about 10 words. So let's just say we have 61 words minus 10, that's like 50, just about 50 items. Okay. Uh, and I know some of these are a combination of words. So if we wanted to divide that by two, 25 items in this chicken breast. Okay. And so what do we have? We have MSG, monosodium glutamate, which has been around for forever, pretty much. And we've seen this, when it comes to even food in Taco Bell, which you can see that I have a tab up for that too, which I will talk about later. But you have the thing about this is most people don't realize is you already have a salt that's added, but then you also have another salt because you have salt, but then you have sodium. So essentially, you have salt here. But one thing I also want to point out to you is that you have salt pretty much almost on every line because you have salt here, monosodium glutamate. Then you have sodium phosphate. And then on this line, let's see, you don't have sodium, so it seemed like it skipped a line. Um, but just as an example, you can kind of see exactly what is in the chicken breast. And then it goes on to talk about what is in the bun flour. Um, and again, this is just an example to show you what you are actually eating. So the bun flour takes up about 4 lines. Then you have the pickle. And what is in the pickle? Well, the pickle pretty much contains the last 2 lines. So you can pretty much see exactly what you're taking in. But this is also showing you how much salt, because salt is just about on every line. And so from this sandwich, which pretty much has chicken breasts, pickles, and buns, these are a lot of ingredients. And if you were to actually investigate some of these ingredients, and sometimes or most times the company, they will actually show you, okay, what is the purpose of this chemical? For instance, this line item shows, let's see, dimethylpolysiloxane, an anti-foaming agent or anti-foam agent. Okay, so this is to prevent any anti-foam. So I guess the chicken from really foaming. But however, when you consume that chemical, how is that really benefiting your body? These are just, this is just a question that you may want to ask. And again, most people don't really ask this because they believe like, oh, I can consume it, digest it, goes in, out of my body. But honestly, that is not always the case because in your body you have receptors. And these are where proteins are on the surface or inside of a cell that can actually attach to, if it's a natural substance or if it's a drug. And that natural substance or drug, or in this case, chemical, can actually bind to that receptor and alter the function. So that is one thing you want to keep in mind is how will this chemical affect my body because sometimes they can actually bind to receptors in your body and modify the original function. So if you were to eat something and realize like, why am I so depressed, or why do I feel like I'm just mad at this person, it could be likely related to a lot of these chemicals. And what most people don't realize is this is pretty much overload, especially if you were consuming fast food often. And so this is just an example, but I also want to show you another example when it comes to you're not just going to get a Chick-fil-A sandwich without getting fries. And you may say, well, not everybody gets fries. Sometimes people get a fruit medley. Okay. Like 5 in 10 people are going to do that. I know that ain't true. Just reality. But I'm not saying that people couldn't get a fruit medley. But if you're already going to get a sandwich, I know that you're going to get fries. So what are also in the fries? Well, we have potatoes. And then we also have canola oil. Okay. Then we have high oleic canola oil with dimethyl polysiloxane. Okay, so this is pretty much the same ingredient that is also in the chicken breast, used as an anti-foaming agent. So we have pretty much two oils, and then we have another one, which is vegetable oil, which also includes canola, palm, and soy. And then you have salt, and then pretty much about the same ingredients. So you would think that potatoes and oil and salt, three ingredients. No, this actually includes multiple ingredients because as you can see here in this one vegetable oil, there is a blend of canola and palm. And you may not realize it, but I believe that palm has a higher saturated fat content level, high saturated fat content level. So when you think about a lot of these oils, 24 grams of fat, but how much of that is of saturated fat? If I had to guess, which I know that this also shows us, it's about 5, probably even more grams than that. And usually, if you're at 5 grams, that is pretty high for saturated fat, just for one food item. And if you also consuming Chick-fil-A sandwich as well as sauce, you are pretty much upping that dose. But again, I just want you to think about, okay, what are each of these chemicals? And as we'll go not today, but I will actually over time discuss some of the common chemicals or ingredients that you may find in food, and even looking more into their impact on the body. Okay. But I do want you to just look at these in terms of, because I was talking with someone this week and they didn't realize like fries have that many ingredients in there. Yes, they do. And again, I'm not picking on Chick-fil-A, but I do want people to realize like it's not Whole Foods, okay? The label clearly tells you that it's not a whole chicken breast and that's it. These are not whole fries and that's it. They have been added. This even tells you that there was a chemical added to make the color attractive, make it golden yellow. Because if you really think about an actual potato, when you cut it, it doesn't look this yellow, okay? So there had to be some alteration, chemistry involved here. But I do want you to be aware of this because when it comes down to your nutrition and your health long term, I'm aware that for some people, they can eat fast food and nothing happens to them. But not everybody can do that. And even with those people, I I realized that there are just some things that I wouldn't do myself, even if I knew I could get away with it. I just wouldn't do just because it is not being, at least to me, a good example of taking care of your body properly. But like I said, that's just me. But I also want you to see that any food item that you consume often, look at it, investigate it in terms of, okay, what am I taking in? Because what you may not realize, switching over to the FDA has a hand when it comes to food safety. But this is not as in depth as you may think it to be, because one of the things the FDA does is to, evaluate the use of chemicals as food ingredients and substances that come in contact with food, packaging, storage. Now, when you think about this, they are pretty much regulating and monitoring what is safe level. So let's take a step back. They're not really as concerned that if this could pose a small risk, like let's eliminate it. No, like to them, it's like, okay, it poses a risk. But a company may say, well, if we can get it down to, just as an example, 0.001, and if this particular food item is about zero point 0.1 ounce, or if it's 1 ounce and it's at this level, we could get away with it, right? FDA is pretty much like, okay, if it meets this level and you show clinical trials that it doesn't, then we pass it. The issue is what happens when you double up on that for the sake of trying to get your nutrients in. So let's say this food product that was made has vitamin C, and you're trying to get vitamin C from this food product because for 1 ounce, it only contains 10%. So let's say you're trying to eat 5 ounces of this, but you're going over 5 times the level. What happens is that over time, if you continue to consume that item, and especially if you have exceeded that toxicity level, then you are putting yourself in danger. And again, this doesn't happen often because most of us, we have consumed chemicals such as um, plastics, even just chemicals that have been known to be carcinogenic, even cancerous. We have consumed that at some point. And what happens is it goes through our body, through our liver, and ends up being flushed out. Now, depending on your lifestyle, those chemicals can remain in your body. And if you're consuming a lot of um, fats from animals, those animals can be consuming a lot of plastics and other foreign chemicals that can be toxic to the human body. And that could be, you can consume that from the animal in a means of fat. And so that fat that you were consuming from an animal or even from food products, that can actually go into your body. And one thing that I wanted to mention about this is that when you think about packaging when it comes to food, so if you had food that is wrapped in a plastic wrapper, fries that could come in like a paper or plastic, whatever the case is, even like even like the to-go boxes that are plastic, hard styrofoam boxes, whatever food, if it's hot, that is coming into contact with that item or with that packaging, you are actually consuming that as well. So whenever you are consuming fries that have been hot in a bag, even if it's paper, you have to realize that there were chemicals involved in that. So if you eat fries off of that bag or even off of that packaging, you are pretty much taking in plastics and some other chemicals that you're not even aware of that could pose as a threat to your body. And so, again, these are just some things I want you to realize. Some of the information I share from the government, I am kind of mixed in terms of, some information is good, but I also know like the ultimate goal. And so my goal, with you is I'm not pro or, well, I'm not going to say that I'm pro or I'm fully against because there is some information that's useful, but I will say I'm not pro when it comes to a lot of organizations because I do know the truth behind a lot of them. And I also just want to share that with you. But want to really share one on Taco Bell and I'll wrap it up. And this, when I saw it a while ago, it just made me laugh. But this was one where it talked about their nutrition and where they have a nutrition division. And so they pretty much have hired, and again, I'm not sharing anything with you that is not public. All of this is public. So if you were to go on their website right now, you can actually see the same information yourself. But these are like their goals. We are simplifying our ingredients. We have removed artificial colors. So yes, they are pretty much admitting, yes, colors have been in our food. Yes, we have used uh, artificial trans fat and high fructose corn syrup. But one thing that you want to keep an eye on is if they remove that, then what will they replace it with that is cheaper, not safer? Okay. Because one thing I want you to keep in mind is safety. Where do you see safety in all of this? and you may see reducing sodium. Okay, but does that mean actually removing different compounds of salt? Because not all salt actually behaves the same, especially if you are combining multiple sources of salt. Um, Again, you can look at these. This was one that really got me, offering better beverages. So 100 calories and 20 grams of sugar or less. Again, people, when you're thinking about fast food, realize that this will never be as healthy as just getting the actual real food. So I want you to keep that in mind, because even if you were to get a 50-calorie drink, what is in that drink? You're likely using sweeteners. Okay, what can sweeteners do? They can actually alter your receptors and even your genome sequencing just because of their structure. Okay, these are things, again, you won't really hear a lot of, but I just wanted to educate you in terms of being aware of not falling for a sale line, because these are pretty much sales line, and they pretty much bold out like sourcing quality ingredients. They know what terminology attracts people. And again, not trying to attack any company, but I'm just sharing with you. If you're going to make a decision, I just want you to be informed and not just buying into a lie. At least know what you are getting into. Okay. So again, like I said, I can go through all of this, and well, I probably will go through this. So I think I saw this earlier. Marissa said her favorite product. She's a nutrition specialist. So let's see a black bean crunch wrap supreme. Let's see what this actually looks like. A black bean crunch wrap supreme, and I'm gonna wrap it up. So we're going to scroll down to Black Bean Crunchwrap Supreme. And if you don't know by now, you probably already know that when it comes to a lot of these food items, the ingredients are very extensive. So here we can see they are just about at their goal, but again, you could exceed this. 1100 milligrams, well, that's about 50% of your intake. And you haven't even, and this is just one meal. So imagine if you were eating multiple meals where you add salt. Saturated fat, like I said, when you add 5 grams, that is pretty much a lot, because your recommended intake should be no more than 10%, which is about, I want to say, 2 grams of saturated fat. Unless you're really exercising, this is not really a good number to be at. Okay. So let's look at all of this. So you have hydrogenated soybean oil. So anything that is hydrogenated, shortening, this is not already good. So that's why I say the nutrition to me is kind of funny. So you kind of see what is in a lot of these foods. They throw in some turmeric, some spices, but it's kind of like you're throwing in good and not the preferred, is what I look at it. A lot of salts, which is kind of common. And, again, a lot of this, while even this could seem like it's vegan, it's fast food, which is, I like to look at it as entertainment food. So I didn't want to take too much time, because I knew that it was a lot, and it's still so much more information that I haven't even shared with you. But at least you can actually see, or at least I hope I have encouraged you to start looking at a lot of these companies, restaurants that you may find yourself eating at, or even not even only restaurants, but even casual dining restaurants that you may find yourself eating at, and you never really looked at their menu or just seeing like, what are they offering? Like, is this really safe for my body? Okay. And the reason why I share all of this with you is because, when it comes down to it, whole foods in their whole form. So usually I like to go for organic, just because there's less pesticides use. And I'm not going to say it's 100% free, just because I want you to be aware that there is some cross contamination from other crops that can get on organic crops, especially if it's under the same farm or company. There is the cross contamination that occurs. And so again, whole foods at the end of the day can pretty much help you get the nutrients that you need, versus getting fast food, which is mainly predicated on a lot of fat and carbs with little protein. But you have to realize when you're getting whole food sourcing, you're getting pretty much a balanced diet of vegetables have a significant amount of protein, carbs have a significant amount of proteins. And so when it comes down to this, again, this is just information so that you can see, like, hey, have I really been making the wisest choices when it comes to fast food? Can I really improve my choices? Can I minimize that to just really shopping more for my groceries, buying them, prepping foods at home, and making that time to eat versus spending money out and just getting a lot of this extra chemical that your body really doesn't need. Like, you want to make sure you're treating yourself right. And so the best way to do that is knowing exactly what is sufficient for your body to take in. So with that, I'm gonna leave you with that because I don't want to hold you over with this, but I did want to share this information with you. And again, I hope that you found this to be very helpful because, again, I just want to share the truth with you. And also, when I see things, I also like you to be well informed. And so, if you enjoyed this, make sure you show us some love by liking and subscribing to our page at Robotic1212. And also make sure you drop us a comment because, again, I do appreciate your feedback. And as we continue to grow, make sure you continue to engage, even by sharing some feedback with us. What you like about the videos, what would you like to see added or addressed, or even if you have some health issues or just questions, I would like to know that as well, because I do want to provide you with information that is relevant to you. And as you can kind of see from some of our videos, I don't mind going in on some topics because I do want you to get the truth and not just a biased side. I'm not the type of person. I want to give it to you just as I see it. So hope you enjoyed this. And until next time, I will talk with you later.